hello. We're going to start about now, so if everybody would want to take their seats, please. And I want to welcome everybody to our transit. All right, let's start. All right, everyone, welcome. I want to welcome everybody to our transit kind of chat tonight with Director Reiskin. I want to thank you all for coming. We do have a membership table, so I know a couple people signed up tonight, but if anybody would like to sign up to be a member, Mary is right over there, willing to accept it. And we are happy to have you all here tonight. And this actually started out by Sharon, one of our board members. You want to stand up for a second? One of our board members, she had seen some stuff on Nextdoor about, it was basically about wait time and people not getting on, having problems getting buses on time and everything. So she started talking, and we had written a letter to Mr. Reiskin about our objection and our, like, hey, look, we're having issues, we're seeing issues out here with service. And so Mr. Reiskin, in his kind words, as he always has been with SFPAR, decided to come out and talk to us. So that's why he's here tonight. So we want to thank them for coming. And I see our supervisor back there. We're going to say, sure.
I'll just say hello. Hi everyone, I'm Sandra, your supervisor. I just wanted to say hello. Thanks for coming tonight to learn more about MTA. And I just wanted to alert folks about an upcoming public safety event we're having on October 15th, right here, in Golden Gate Park Senior Center. So October 15th, and it's going to be all around public safety. On a separate note, we're going to have another public forum all around homelessness. So just to let you know that we have contracted with Project Homeless Connect. We have money put toward the hot team. Also, we've been in touch with Teaching NRA and the Park Police, and also SFPAR will be there to talk about just what everybody's doing in the reducing homelessness. But I hope to see you all on October 15th again, right, Angelina, at the Richmond Senior Center on Fulton and 37th, and we'll have a robust conversation about public safety. We always kind of like to have a conversation about public safety around the time when school starts coming back in session, so that folks are more aware about what we're doing about being zero on traffic safety. So thanks much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Sandy. All right, so we'll get to Director Reiskin in 1 second. I do want to say that if we're going to do questions tonight is a different way than we normally do it. I'd like to have everybody, if you have a question, we have index cards over there, and if you need some, I'll try to hand them out. And we will take those, and then we will read the questions off of those tonight. Okay, cool. And from that, no further. And Reiskin.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having me, the supervisor, and members of the SFPAR board, and the rest of the community. So I do appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you, but more so to hear from you and get your feedback and understand what we can be doing better. But I got the letter, and I guess I shared the night of that. And definitely understand that at least at the time the letter was written, and maybe before, maybe since, concerns about community service. So I'll just try to kind of quickly give you an overview of kind of where we've come from, where we are, and where we're headed. Try to answer a few other questions. One acknowledged was Reiskin, who's from my agency. I know many of you know, who's been working on the Erie project for what seems like a long time, and can help answer any specific questions that you might have on that. But then really interested to hear any feedback, what maybe is behind the genesis of having this conversation, and just anything else that's going on. So just in terms of community service, just to kind of step back for a minute, there's a lot of things that we've done over the past 5 or so years that I think have been good additions to community service. A few years back, we increased service by about 10% and have made some further increases since. So we're providing considerably more community service today than we were 5 years ago. And that includes extensions of rapid service, creation of the 5 rapid, extension of the 38 rapid to 7-day service, extension of the 28 rapid to all-day service, and some enhancements on lines like 29 and 44 to increase cross-town capacity. I know that's what the supervisor has indicated as a priority for her, among other things. We've replaced almost the entire bus fleet, and by I think almost all the buses running in Richmond now are the new buses, but by the end of next year, they will be pretty much 100% all new buses. And the new buses bring in a number of advantages. They're much more reliable. They break down less often. They're low floor boarding, so people can get on and off more easily and more quickly. And I think they're just nicer to be in. So complete upgrade of the fleet. We've also opened a new management center, which is where folks can watch and manage the service in real time. We've also at the same time upgraded the equipment on the buses so that they're communicating more and better data to the folks who are managing the system in the control center or out in the field. So it helps us deal with problems that we have, whether it's a water main break, or a fire, or a traffic collision, or something that might impact the service, or things that are our own problem, broken down bus. If we have new buses, we don't have so much anymore. But other impacts of the service, we're much better able to actively manage the service with the investments that we've been making there. I think there were a few other things. Oh, well, with the increase in service, we hired a lot more staff. We've invested a lot more on the maintenance side of maybe. So it's something that we don't necessarily see, but wanting to make sure that the vehicles, the overhead lines, all of that is well maintained so that it's reliable, so that we don't have service disruptions due to our own infrastructure as well as the other vehicles. And I guess on the trolley lines, it's still probably have a fair number of the older buses running. Again, by the end of 2019, those will be all new vehicles. So a lot of things that we've been doing in the last 5 years to improve the service and to sustain the service at a time where, as you know, we have a lot more traffic in the city, a lot more congestion, and particularly for the routes that go downtown, they really get often kind of gummed up with the congestion downtown. So by adding service and having more reliable vehicles, we can work to be able to at least sustain the level of service and the reliability of service, even with a pretty significant increase in congestion in the last 5 years. So that's just a little bit of kind of up to this point. We have, in the last few months, starting probably around June or so, we had some pretty significant degradations in the community service. There were a number of different factors at play that caused that, and this was maybe at the time that we were identifying this and what was the impetus for the letter. We had essentially 3 different things happen all at the same time, which were challenging for us, and frankly, for which we did not adequately plan or mitigate for. The first was that, according to our labor contract, every 2 years, all of the bus drivers get to choose where they want to drive from. Whether they want to drive from a division that has the electric diesel hybrid buses, that has the trolley coaches, or the rail vehicles, the light rail, the storage, and the cable. In order to accommodate those drivers moving, that's a seniority-based system, to where they want to go, they have to be retrained. And moving from one motor coach division to another, not much required there. Moving into trolleys requires some training. Moving into rail is a significant amount of new training. So while trying to keep all the service running, every 2 years we need to try to ramp up and accommodate all movement that's going to happen. We don't know until the sign-up happens how much movement there is going to be. And we ended up with a lot of movement this time around, which created a lot of training burden for us that we had a hard time keeping up. So that was one thing that happened. The second thing that happened, and this is a good thing, is that we're also bringing new trains into the system. Well, I know you don't have train services, at least not yet. In order to get the trains into service, we had to familiarize our existing light rail operators with the new trains. And that took training resources away from training operators to become rail operators. And then the third thing that happened is that we shut down the Twin Peaks tunnel for 2 months. It was a 100-year-old tunnel, a very old infrastructure, was not seismically sound. And so we went in, we replaced the 100-year-old stream system, replaced all the rails, and did seismic upgrades at the portals. In order to continue to move all of the folks who move in the subway every day, it took a lot of buses. So trying to create that service, at the same time we were training folks to move around the agency and training new operators, familiarizing new operators with the light rail vehicles. We created a shortage of operators to deliver the service every day, and that was what you all experience. Our goal in the charter is to deliver 98.5% of the scheduled service. Our actual goal as an agency is, of course, to deliver 100%. We make a schedule, we want to deliver get all that service out the door every day. At the valley of this summer, we were down to 92%, which if we were in school, that'd be an A-, that'd be pretty good. But when we manifest that over the system, we definitely have a lot of gaps in service and a lot of challenges. When the Twin Peaks construction ended, it ended on time at the end of August. That immediately provided a whole lot more operators than we had available for bus service system-wide. We also made some changes in the rail side, and we're able to create more capacity to get more folks trained and back to operation. So right now, we're running about 95–96%. So we're still not even at the 98.5 that we want to be, like 100 that we really want to be. But the service has been, I think, and I'm interested to hear your feedback, it's been significantly better since the end of August when the construction was completed. The other thing that we've been hearing a lot about is the next bus system. The predictions are not accurate, they're not consistently accurate. And there's a few things going on there. I mean, sometimes when we see big wait times with the next bus system, it was maybe because there were really big wait times because we had a gap in service, we didn't have an operator to fill a bus route. But the other issue is that the next bus, we were, I believe, the first transit agency to have this technology where you could get arrival predictions for your bus or your train, which was great back in the late 2000s when it was introduced. But fast forward now and think of how your iPhone has changed and everything else in the world has changed. It's now very old technology, and it's not very reliable. The algorithms are fairly simplistic. So when buses, for example, get bogged down in traffic, it doesn't do a very good job of calculating what the impact will be on arrival times. It also doesn't do well as they're close to the terminal. So if you live out at the terminal with the 38 or the 1, or the 31 or the 5, all it's doing is reading from the schedule, not from when the next bus might. So the good news is that we have just issued a request for proposals for someone to come in and provide us the next generation of what's currently the next bus system, which will have a lot more features, such as alternate routes, and be able to say whether the bus coming is full or the one behind it is not so full. So a lot of great new features, as well as, most importantly, much more accurate arrival predictions. So hope is on the way for the next bus, but it's probably 3 years out. I think the first stages of implementation would start, best case, by the end of 2019. So we have to live for it for a while longer. We do continue to work with the current vendor and their engineers as we see problems to address them, where it's not functioning or when it's not functioning well, but there are some limitations to the age of the technology. It's actually a kind of a similar system, a similar situation to Clipper. We were one of the first in the nation to have a smart card or a card system for the buses, which was great at the time, but now it's very old technology. We are just the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, the Regional Transportation Planning and Funding Agency, the old contract. The vendor for Clipper is going to consider the award of a new contract for a next generation Clipper system, which will allow for mobile and other more modern things like that. So by being early adopters in some of these cases, like Nextbus and Clipper, they're a little bit of a victim of how they have a bit leapfrog in this case in other cities. So that's kind of at a high level what some of our service challenges have been of late. It's definitely I think pretty steady increase of would be that the mayor's been asked to put together kind of a plan, a strategy or an action plan to accelerate some of the things that we were doing, or put more focus, or do some new things to try to get that recovery faster and to get back on track in terms of improving the service. I think the letter also made reference to union funding, and I guess what I would say is, generally speaking, in terms of our operating budget, as you all probably know, the charter has a formula in it that gives us a certain percentage of general city revenues, and that plays a big part of any operations, along with the people paying their fares and parking revenues. And the good news, because the economy has been strong, the funds coming in from the general fund have been strong, as have parking revenues and our ridership, unlike most other transit agencies in the country, has not declined, so we have good fare revenues as well. So our that operating budget plus a state law that was passed last year, Senate Bill 1, that increased certain statewide taxes on transportation, has also put an influx of funds into the transportation system, both for street paving and for community operations and capital. So what all that has done is that has allowed us to bring forward a budget for this year that has some modest increases to community service. And this is at a time where, generally speaking, at the MTA and for the city, the city's costs are rising faster than its revenues. Part of the employee pension and health benefits. So the Board of Supervisors and the mayor had to go through the process of balancing a budget. We did as well, but those extra state revenues from the Senate bill that was passed last year were very helpful in allowing us to not only preserve the level of service, but even to increase it a little bit in the current budget. The challenge with that is that there is an initiative on the ballot this November, the state ballot, Proposition 6, that would repeal those gas tax and diesel excise tax and vehicle fee increases that were approved by the legislature and governor last year. If that would happen, that would create an immediate about $60 million hole in the city budget, between our budget and the city budget. So that there is a little bit of risk to the balanced budget that the city passed, including the MTA's portion of that budget, should Prop 6 be successful. And just so what Prop 6 would do is not only repeal that increase, but it would remove from the state legislature the ability to enact any future increases. It would require any increases of gas taxes from now forward to the voters. And that would be a 2/3 threshold to approve, although it's a 50% threshold to approve Prop 6, which would undo the gas tax increase. So that's one kind of asterisk to the beauty funding picture, as well as the city street paving picture, and it also has impacts our and all the city's road paving programs. The other thing that happened recently that impacts our budget, potentially positively, potentially not, is that the voters approved RM3, or Regional Measure 3, this past June, which is a bridge toll increase for all the bridges in the region, except for the Golden Gate, so separate tolling authority. That bridge toll increase has $140 million included for muni fleet facilities, as well as other funding that muni can compete for, as well as very significant funding for FARC, Caltrain, and some of the other regional providers and ferries. So that's the good news. The bad news is that there's a lawsuit filed challenging RM3, saying that it passed with, I think, 56% or so of the vote. And the previous regional measures went forward with a 50% threshold. The lawsuit is saying because of Prop 26, it should have required a 2/3 majority. So while the region and the state lawyers who authorized the bill and put it on the ballot are confident that the region will succeed in defeating this lawsuit, it will impact the timing of the funds, that they will be collecting the funds, but they may not have locked the funds out. And that they did lose them, potentially. So those funds that are anticipated in our capital budget may be a little bit on hold for us. So we can spend a whole time talking about funding. We have very large gaps in our if you look at all of our assets and the condition they're in, the amount of funding, which is in billions, that we would need to get those assets replaced. We have a pretty big gap, but in terms of current 2-year operating capital budgets, notwithstanding potential Prop 6 victory or Prop 3 defeat, we're in decent shape in terms of funding for the next 2 fiscal years. And then the last thing, and this also could be its own meeting, and it has been its own meeting, is gear meeting. So I'll just be very brief on that. Of course, if there are questions, we can go into it more. The gear week project we've broken up into 2 phases, really kind of from Stanton to Market, the east or downtown part, and then the second phase, which is the Richmond part. The downtown part was approved legislation for parking and traffic changes following from the planning that we did a few years back. Was approved by the MTA Board of Directors last month, and some early implementation of that project will start as early as next month. But then there's a construction project that will follow. First, the PUC is going to come in and do some water and sewer replacement, and then we will follow a few contracts to make permanent changes, but shorter term, some transit and safety benefits, because like the whole project is both transit reliability and pedestrian or street safety project, very big one. This is major corridors. So that construction work will start later this year or next year, and different phases will be going on for a few years. So the first phase is kind of moving forward. The second phase remains in a fairly early stage. We're in what we call preliminary engineering, which is currently projected to be completed in March. That will give us kind of a first picture of thinking that the planning that was done a few years ago and putting it into preliminary engineering drawings, so we put together a better preliminary cost estimate and schedule, and at which point it would then go into detailed design, which would take another 1.5 years or so. And before we started this final stage of the phase 1 work, before bringing it to our board, we went back and did a whole other round of outreach, and out of that there were a number of changes that we did make. Likewise, with phase 2, I know there's lots of concerns and issues with phase 2. There's still lots of opportunity and expectation for outreach, for hearing from folks out here, SFPAR, merchants, to continue to modify and improve the project and make it work like to answer any questions as I will listen.
No? Okay. Any questions? All right, so I got a ton of questions here. If anybody else has more questions, feel free to grab an index card and fill them out, and I will have Sharon. Do you want her to come up for a and she will get them again to me, and I'll start asking them as I get them. So first question I have, I'm going to kind of put a couple together on this one because it's about stop signs. Stop signs. Is there going to be a stop? When is the stop sign on Balboa and 38? When is there a plan to have a stop sign on Balboa and 38? Also, 43rd Fulton safety improvements, and why doesn't the 5L go down to the beach? Okay. Will there ever be a stop sign on 26 in Clement as well?
So sadly, I don't know every intersection in the city, so I can't give you many specific answers. I do know that 38th and Balboa intersection is a peace with Richard. With regard to stop signs, we are trying to balance a lot of things. We want to make sure, of course, first and foremost, intersections are safe. Stop signs are one thing that we can do if the circumstances are such that it warrants a stop sign, which includes looking at traffic patterns, looking at traffic volumes, traffic patterns, collision histories, and we evaluate those as well as general traffic conditions to try to determine whether a stop sign is appropriate, whether other things such as daylighting an intersection, whether we've done in that area are appropriate. So as I last knew, I don't think we had plans for a stop sign at 30 in Balboa. I'm not sure what the 41st Fulton. I'm not sure what the issue is there. There's been a lot of improvements that we've made.
They haven't made it, somebody died in 2011, and they haven't made any.
41st and Fulton.
No, at 43rd and Fulton.
Third. Okay. So off the top of my mind, I don't know. I know there's a lot of improvements that we've made along Fulton. There's still last 4 or 5 years or so. And the 5 Fulton terminus, I think it's the same place that it's always been.
Because they're doing they're making safety improvements along Fulton Street at the Park Presidio, but they don't have any plans for Park Presidio to beach. They're making pedestrian safety improvements up to Park
I've
Presidio.
done some out there, but I don't think
Well, that's what your staff told me.
Alrighty. I'm just kind of going through these questions kind of before that. Got one, no question. The 673 Muni customer service staff are wonderful. Let's, just want to point out that we did get a compliment.
So that's 673 Muni goes to 311, so all credit goes to 311 for that.
Now here's one on Nextbus and Clipper. Are both of them, right, is Nextbus use actual real-time GPS or not, and is Clipper real-time or not? I know that you talked about that earlier.
Yeah, so Nextbus does generally use real time, except as I mentioned at the terminal. The closer you get to a terminal, what it's doing is it's using a schedule. And some of the apps you'll see it'll have an asterisk next to the time, so that means that that's the scheduled time as opposed to the GPS time. But generally speaking, it's along the lines it's using GPS, so it's reading where the bus is, and then it's using an algorithm to calculate distance, the expected time it's going to take the bus to get to you. So next bus is generally real time. It's just old technology. The Clipper, one of the challenges with the current Clipper system is all of the information resides in the card. So if what's not real time is if you go on the website, you load $20 on your Clipper card, your card doesn't know information from the back-end system, gets transferred onto the devices on the vehicles, and then you touch that device, that connection is made, and that can take up to 3 to 5 business days. It's very old, clunky technology. So one of the things, we'll get new Clipper systems, we run real-time connectivity.
Can you fix that? Can you help that, fix that? That's a big deal.
The fixes on the way.
It's not working. That's
Next Wednesday, I think, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission will be considering authorization of a contract to replace the current Clipper system.
cool.
Supervisor?
Oh, yes, so sorry, this is around the same thing. Well, the Clipper card we use to, when you go to Japan or Hong Kong, when you go to other countries, you're able to use your transit card actually at convenience stores and other things. Will this Clipper card be able to do the same thing?
So we put an option, and when I say we, the transit agencies work together with FTC, the regional agency, to create the spec for this. So one of the things we did was we created an option for open payments in the system, which essentially would give us that function. It won't be there initially. I know it's been very popular in a lot of Asian countries. I just read an article yesterday that there was a survey of folks in Hong Kong that said a lot of them don't want to even use their card anymore because they're just using their phones and they're using virtual wallets on their phones. Chicago, the same vendor that's doing ours is in Chicago, and they do have a debit card feature. They're finding that not a lot of folks are using it, but we built in their capability to do that if there's a demand for that.
Pedestrian safety improvements. How will you ensure that seniors, elderly, and disabled will be, especially at night, will be safe, especially at night? My experience with the Van Ness renovation and comments I've heard from many others, it has made crossing the street risky for these citizens.
Well, so one of the major improvements and impetuses for the Van Ness project, as I said, is the case for the Erie project, is pedestrian safety. Van Ness is also on the city's high injury network, and the high injury network is the 13% of city streets that are home to 75% of the serious and fatal collisions. So when you look at a map of San Francisco, the most dangerous streets it's pretty concentrated. Van Ness is one, Erie is one. Van Ness, we actually had a 5 on Van Ness in the last 5 years. So the pedestrian safety amenities in it, including islands in the middle, and pedestrian signals, and better lighting, and narrower crossing, more visible crosswalks, all those elements will be in Van Ness when it's done. Will be in Erie phase 1. We'll be doing some of those in the temporary style soon. It will be in that when it's done. We'll be designing whatever version of phase 2 we end up with. It sounds like maybe the issue is a during construction issue.
That was my question. Thank you for being here. Thank you to my supervisor and her office for organizing. And thank you to Lauren for taking the initiative.
Thank you all. I am a bus rider. I do not have a car, and I don't plan to get one. I ride the 38, almost literally in the 38 car every day and other buses. So my concern was when I was on the test during the construction period, it was during the day, and Mr. Reiskin, I was confused about where to cross, how to cross, and those who were right next to me were also confused, asking questions, and there were crossing guards, which made it very, very helpful. And so I'm very concerned. I understand the final project when it's done, it will be better. I believe it will be. But in the meantime, I'm very concerned about possible fatalities. And me, my congregants, I also have a daughter, and I'm worried. to ensure that there are no fatalities in this district. Because I'm not hearing that, but I could be wrong. So I hope that clarifies things. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. So zero fatalities is our goal. It's official city policy. Our goal is to eliminate traffic fatalities in the city by 2024. Last year we had the best year ever since we started measuring in 1915, but still there are too many people dying on the street. Somebody died last night, in Howard, hit and run. There's just no reason for anybody to ever die just trying to get around town. So we have a whole very broad-based effort, not just within my agency, but across the city government in partnership with many community agencies, very strong leadership from the Board of Supervisors, as they said, as the Transportation Authority. They created a subcommittee especially focused on Vision Zero. So we are doing a lot of street redesign around the city, focused on that ING network to do the things that I talked about, higher visibility crosswalks, narrower crossing distance, traffic signals, traffic calming. There's a big education
Yes,
effort.
President, I want to thank you for that, and I guess traffic calming. I thank you because when the transit center Salesforce went in operation, I don't know who did it, but there were people out in force, which made it very helpful for me personally and for everybody. So I want to thank whoever did it, and I guess what I'm asking for, sir, is that the same thing happens during this renovation.
Yeah, so I agree on that. So the traffic management has been one of the more challenging parts of the Van Ness project because it was a 6-lane state highway running through the center of our town. So we've spent a lot of time, our traffic engineers and Caltrans, state transportation department's engineers were doing the traffic plans that are generated that we require our contractor to generate. So we've been paying a lot of attention to that, but based on your feedback, it sounds like we need to focus back on that more. That there are certain locations or times, depending on the nature of the work, where we will require them to have a flagger to help people get across the street, but I hear your feedback, so we'll take a second look on that.
Good job, thank you.
All right, budget question. What is the Muni actual budget amount? What percent is from fare boxes? What percent is from grants? What percent is from the general fund? How much goes to operational costs? How much goes to capital expenditures? And is there any private or philanthropy funding?
Okay, so I can give you those numbers for the MTA, the whole agency, of which Muni is a part. The operating budget for the MTA is about $1.2 billion. About a quarter of it comes from the general fund. About a quarter of it comes from fare revenues. A larger chunk, probably 30 or 40%, comes from parking revenues. That's meters, garages, citations. And then we do get some operating grants. The Transportation Authority gives us an operating grant to support paratransit. And then there's the State Transit Assistance, which was expanded by SB1, that provides funding for the operating budget as well. There's no private philanthropic dollars. We did, for a period of 2 years, have a one-time grant from Google. It was $6.8 million, if I recall, and that helped us launch the free Muni for low and moderate income youth. That was a one-time infusion, and then that went away. So no private money. And of that budget, Muni is 60 or 70% of the budget. So the fare box, as a percentage of Muni operating revenues, is somewhere a little under 30%. It was up above 30%, but when we started doing the free Muni programs, it dropped down. The capital budget, the capital budget is kind of a separate funding source, separate funding sources. There's federal dollars in the capital budget. There's some state dollars. there's regional funds and local funds, property, the sales tax, as well as the general obligation bond that was approved by the voters back in 2014. Those are what make up the capital budget. It used to be a lot more federal and state. The federal program used to be more robust, and the state used to issue bonds. Problem B, I think, was the last one. But over time, the burden, and this is true nationwide, has shifted to the local level. So now more of our capital budget comes from local areas.
All right, will the MTA consider establishing a medallion-style fee for the commuter shuttle buses? And then, tag on to that, the city and county transportation authority and the budget and legislative analysis office both recommended considering such a change. The MTA is still looking into reserves to fill the budget gaps.
So the commuter shuttle program is run as a permit program, like a number of other permit programs that we run. And it's been the advice we've been given that permit programs by state law are designed such that the permit fees can only equal but not exceed the cost of administering the permit program. So if that interpretation is correct, which I know there are some who disagree with, we don't make money off of our permits. We don't make money from our residential permits. We don't make money from car share permits. We don't make money from any ISCOT permits, from any permits that we issue. I know there's differences of opinion on that.
We make money from the medallion fees sold to taxi cabs. The question is medallion style fees. Permits are separate. Why isn't the SFPAR considering this whole range of other possible charges that are not restricted by state law? The things that are not restricted by state law. You went to court. You got sued by the taxi drivers. The SFPAR won. And the suit was over medallion fees. Now, why aren't we considering that so we can get a shuttle program?
I will take that.
This is where the money is. It's in the tech industry down in Silicon Valley. These buses are operating illegally in our public bus stops. It's against state law for them to be in our public bus stops. Why aren't we considering medallion style charges? That's where the money is.
One of us is the city to capture more of this.
All right, pedestrian signal lights. It's confusing under our existing system. Let's program all pedestrian lights to an automatic mode and eliminate the manual push button modes, still keeping all the hardware.
Yeah, so we generally, we don't require the manual push button. I think we do have some, I don't know, it's Park Presidio or Fulton, but generally our default is to not require a pedestrian to press the button. I think in places where we have them, it's where they're a very, very high ratio of vehicle volume versus pedestrian volume. But if there's specific locations that are of concern, I'd be happy to take a look at those. Generally, we don't want pedestrians to automatically get the light.
It was just question, yeah.
Lake Street, Gary, and Fulton don't require push button automatically turn the light in a walk.
Crossing Park Presidio, you're talking about?
Yeah, up the Cedar Boulevard. California, Comment, Balboa, and those streets, you have to push the button and walk across the street. Now, you're gonna deal with a 6-lane highway here. It's very difficult. You miss that push button by milliseconds. You gotta wait for the whole cycle. You understand? I don't know you guys.
Yes.
Why don't they make it automatically in all intersections?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll see if there's a reason why that's not the case. And I don't know if there's a cultural transition there, but if it exists in some places, I don't know why it couldn't
Yes,
exist in
you
all
got
places.
Fulton, Lake, and Gary. Those are automatic. Even though they have a push button there, but doesn't mean it. It's a dummy button.
No, excuse me, actually, it does work. I use it all the time when I walk. It only goes to the walking man if you push the button. Otherwise, you have the red band, you try to cross even though you've got a green light for pedestrians, but the hand is telling you don't walk. So you're walking across the intersection, and people trying to make rights and lefts, honking, flipping you off and shouting.
It's not a nice way to cross the street.
It's an awful way to cross.
It's a normal way, yeah.
Yeah, not. Alrighty, bus drivers rarely pull up to curbs. We seniors have grocery carts that they have to lift up, and that can be a problem. And then there's more to the question. What is with the jumbo strollers that block the aisles, so parents with strollers and stuff, basically?
So in terms of pulling to the curb, I guess the good news is with all the new low floor buses and they're low, then they can kneel and get even lower. You go in the front door, it's a very short step up. One of the reasons why drivers don't pull into the bus stop is because once they do, they have a very difficult time getting back out because the traffic that's flowing by them on the left doesn't brake and it doesn't let them back out. So they often kind of leave their tail hanging in to the travel lane so that they can get back out. Could argue whether that's a good practice or not, but they have a hard time often getting back in the traffic, especially on busier streets. In some places, we're moving the curb at the bus stop all the way out to the edge of the travel lane, so they don't have to pull over at all. And we're going to be doing that on 19th Avenue, so the 28 won't have to pull out of traffic and then try to fight its way back in, which it has trouble with. But that's why they do it. In terms of the jumbo strollers, we don't control what size strollers people buy. I do see ridiculously sized strollers on the vehicles. We used to require people to break down their strollers before getting on the vehicles. But in trying to be family friendly in a city that's losing families and losing kids, trying to be a little bit more relaxed about that. On a very crowded bus, the driver does have the discretion to tell somebody to hold up their stroller, or they should try to keep it from blocking. But it's a little bit of a challenge for us to balance when we welcome families on while making sure that people can still get up and down the aisle.
More than once, if we're going to the mission, 3 jumbo strollers came on the bus. 3, the double ones. Nobody could get off or get on the bus. And the driver sat there for 45 minutes because nobody had to cooperate. And you know what those women told us seniors? And they were the same Hispanic people. They said, you're just jealous because you can't have kids anymore. And this happened more than once. Another one was recently. What happened to the umbrella strollers?
So,
I mean, we managed the kids before. We walked or we did things. It inconvenienced anybody. But now we all had strollers, all had problems, and just have to problem. And I'm angry.
yeah, no, I understand. I'm sorry that you had that experience of sitting for 45 minutes. That sounds like the operator didn't handle that properly. Again,
But it happens all the time.
you see delays because of people with strollers. You just see the big strollers on the buses.
And not just that, they take up 3 seats, the priority seats, because they have them, lengthwise. And they said,
No, we can certainly revisit our policy. I know it was actually urging from former member of the Board of Supervisors a number of years ago that we changed our policy to be, again, just to try to be more family friendly, to encourage
But what about us?
kids. Well, so we have tried in the design of our buses to make more room for wheelchairs, for strollers, for people to be able to move around. A lot of things we're trying to balance. I hear you.
You know, one of the ways they solve that problem, I've seen in Europe, Sweden especially, in the back door, so to speak, the middle of the bus, which comes in, they have an open area. In other words, because there are no seats, so that you can't put strollers or bicycles or whatever in the bus. And when that's not needed, people just stand there.
Yeah, so we've done that on our new trains, but it's all trade-off, right? Because sometimes folks think there aren't enough seats on the buses, so yeah, it's all trade-offs. But I appreciate that. And we've done that on the new trains, and then there's what's called a leaning pad, so that there's space for strollers or other things, and if nobody's there, there's a place to kind of lean. We'll see how that works, and maybe it's something we'll want to try on the buses too.
All right. On the Europe front, on that. Transit in Amsterdam has one-way turnstiles that allow riders to get on only after paying. Why is SF Muni not able to install these similar systems to reduce fare evasions?
Well, we do have turnstiles in the subway, but most of our system rides on the surface streets. And while it is possible to kind of build stations on surface streets, that takes a lot of space. So we can close, in some places there are boarding islands that are enclosed, and there's a restricted access onto the boarding island. We don't have a lot of space here to do it, so it's not something that we really spend much time on.
That was my question, and on the trams in Amsterdam, which are basically smaller than, or about the size of the 38 period, you have to, or at least for a while, now they have a different system. There's door, just a little thing at the door that you have to pass through once you put your paid. And my point of the question was, you sit on the bus and you just watch fare evader after fare evader, and people aren't touching. And it's phenomenal. And it would just seem, why is there not something that you just pass through coming in the back doors, and then it goes out the other way, and the front door to reduce fare evasion? I assume that the budget must be suffering from fare evasion. My question had to do with buses. I am not art.
So the last time we looked at fare evasion, I think we're doing another study now. It was relatively low. And just, everybody getting on the bus who doesn't tag is not necessarily evading. Many people have passes, even though we want people to tag every time they get on, even if they have a pass. Many people don't. Some people have a transfer that they got from a previous ride. So just know that there's some percentage of folks getting on the bus not tagging that have paid their fare. Again, it's a trade-off. Because we're a very crowded system, we're trying to allow people to move on and off the vehicles quickly. We had a gate stopping each person as they tried to get on, especially if you can imagine that on the 38 Erie. I think that the service would just be far too slow. We are going to do another fare evasion study, I believe, this year to see if it is, how problematic it is, and we'll explore things we can do if it's increased. I observe what you do too, so I hear the concern.
All right, street paving, how has that increased, I guess, as far as this one's part of the reason? Who went on street paving?
I might have, this is really bad writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, okay.
I can hear.
My question was, San Francisco has some of the most pothole-ridden streets in any city in the nation that I've seen, and newly repaired streets, or newly repaved streets start to deteriorate almost as soon as construction street leaves, and I'm wondering why that is. I mean, we do have, a city that doesn't have, and it is incredible. Even just the other day in front of Lafayette Park, the actual bus stop is like an entire block.
Yeah, so for decades, from the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, we were investing very, very little as a city in the upkeep of our streets, and so the condition of the streets deteriorated. And the more a street deteriorates, the more expensive it is to rehabilitate it. If you get it soon, you can just kind of redo the top, but if you don't, then it starts to impact the base on it, and it's really expensive. So starting in around 2007 or so, it was then Mayor Newsom and the Board of Supervisors started funding paving of the streets. And from that time, there's been actually a steady increase in the general condition of the street. The city, the Board of Supervisors have been putting a lot of money into the upkeep of the streets, and the SB1 that passed last year, we have, I think, $23 million a year additionally from the state that we didn't have last year going into the paving of the streets. That will go away if Prop 6 passes. So we've been investing quite a bit with local money, with state money. And in heavy bus areas, what we've been doing is putting in concrete bus pads that will stand up to the asphalt better. What you sometimes see, if you see a street looks like it's been surfaced, and then starts to wear quickly, is where we're just doing a seal, called a slurry seal. And for a street that's in decent condition, the slurry seal can extend the life of it. So it doesn't look as good as brand new asphalt. It does start to appear to wear, but it's helping preserve the life of the street. So as bad as the streets are now, they were much worse in San Francisco 15 years ago.
I just recently had a surgery, and driving around San Francisco was more painful than the surgery. So I just, in terms of the bumps and all of that, but thank you for the explanation.
Richard, you had something?
Yeah, in my previous role as PAR, I received emails from folks two different people in Richmond that complained of the condition of the recently paved streets and the curbs being crushed. And so I went out and looked at a couple of streets, and I found curbs that had been broken, the metal coping that's on some curbs was bent out, and they've disappeared. And I've checked as recently as a month or two ago, and they're still like that after a year. So I guess my question is, who follows up on these private contractors to see how they leave things when they're done? One street has open cracks in two areas, running 30, 40 feet. And so my question is, it seems a bit about follow-up and to see that they've done the job right and have they repaired these curbs. But one guy was up in arms, honestly, sir. It was amazing to me that if it were my job that I hired someone to do, and I went through and found that amount of damage, I'd have them fix it. And so I'm curious about the follow-up after they finish.
Yeah, so the paving program, like all of our other contracts, does have inspectors, construction inspectors that are assigned to all of the jobs. A lot of them are assigned to many jobs at once, so there won't be one guy who's there for one block. But ultimately, it's their job to review the quality of the work and to identify any punch list items, any things that the contractor needs to come back to do, and get that completed before the city will issue final payment. So if there were some misses there, if you want to let me know after, I can try to follow up with Public Works on those.
Is it in your shop or is it Public Works, and is it a 311 call?
It's Public Works manages the quality of the streets, the street resurfacing program. And if, 311, you should be able to use to report any such issue.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I got one more question here, and then we go into the BRT questions. I'm kind of keeping them all, trying to keep them all together so that we don't have random question here and there. Given the trade-offs, why are seniors and disabled always traded off for the bicyclist?
Nice balanced question.
Quite.
So our efforts on street safety, including for Vision Zero, are about prioritizing the needs of the most vulnerable road users. And seniors and people with disabilities are the most vulnerable road users, along with kids. And so much of our street design efforts are focused in that direction. Our accessibility efforts are focused in that direction. We provide free uni for low and moderate income seniors and people with disabilities. We have a very robust paratransit program for people with disabilities. And we have probably, although there's still lots of room for improvement, one of the most ADA accessible public rights of way of any city in the country, if not the world. And so if you look at the curb cuts that we have, markings we have, we were the first transit system in the country, I believe, to have wheelchair lifts on all of our buses. So the city has done a lot over the years and currently to prioritize the needs of most vulnerable people that we serve, and we continue to do that.
All righty, this starts the VRT questions. How will red lanes on Erie work? Are they in the center of the street so that they have to pull across traffic, or to pick up passengers at a stop?
Yeah, so the phase one of the Erie project, the buses will be running on the side. The portion in the central Richmond, they will be center running. Like the current designs, they will be center running because they're designed to be on Van Ness. So there will be a transition in the inner Sunset to get to the center lanes, and then when they get out to about 27th Avenue, they will transition back out to the side running lanes. The main reason is I believe that we went to the center running through the core of the Richmond was to preserve parking, which was identified early on in the project as a priority for merchants and others in Richmond.
But you just explained that the buses can't get back across the traffic after they picked up people, so they don't really stop at the bus stop anymore, or they try to hedge that. So what will this red lane system do? The buses are going to have to pull over?
Yeah, so we would give the bus a signal ahead of the general traffic to be able to get ahead of the traffic to get over, make the transition.
Where? The signal where?
Yeah, the traffic signal. So it'll be a bus-only traffic signal that lets the bus go while it works back the rest of the traffic across the street.
There are also center stops.
Yep. Once it's in the center, then it center stops, like you have on Market Street.
And then people have to walk from the center stop to the curb.
That's correct.
So as far as the traffic,
Yes.
I mean, depending on which way you're going on the bus, you always have to cross the street.
and how many lanes of car traffic will be cut through?
So in the Erie corridor, in some places it's 3 lanes in each direction, other places it's 4. We'd be going down to 2 regular driving lanes and 1 transit-only lane in each direction.
So that's going to have a significant impact on traffic on the area, which already has extremely strangely timed lights, guaranteed to make you stop at constantly.
So there was a pretty extensive study of traffic as part of the environmental review process. And what that study found is that if we do absolutely nothing, traffic is going to get worse. If we do this project, traffic will still get worse, but not quite as bad. And some of the things that we think about and why the city is moving forward with a project like this is the city is growing. There are more people trying to make more trips, and we have a limited amount of roadway space. When people travel in buses, you can move a lot more people in a lot less space. And so this is an opportunity for us to move more people, and I think it's also a benefit to people who want to continue to drive because we're sopping up some of the additional demand with our buses.
Sir, you had a question?
When was this study done?
Yeah, so the environmental study, which is, there's an environmental impact report as well as an environmental impact statement. You can find them both online or in several local libraries. Yeah, so the study began in 2008 and it was concluded in 2018. But as a part of the study, all of the traffic analysis, what we do is a process called revalidating, where we look at more recent traffic counts to make sure nothing would have changed in our conclusions given changes in traffic as time has progressed.
I have a question. So in this study, have you considered Uber, Lyft, skateboards, scooters? Has that come up in developing the baseline for saying that this is the solution for the Richmond? And if I sound harsh, it's only because I think we deserve better technology out here than a bus running down the center lane. But my direct question to you is, all these different ways people are getting around, are they integrated into your thinking here and coming to the conclusion that this is the solution?
So the San Francisco County Transportation Can I just say one thing?
Well, a second. I wouldn't call it a phenomenon. It's been going on for a while. But is your answer to me then yes, you have calculated Uber, Lyft, TNCs, Bird, autonomous vehicles? All I guess we want to know as a community out here, have you considered these things? Because people that are using those modes of transportation are coming from somewhere. They're either coming out of cars, and I think they're coming out of buses too. I think we talked about that somewhere around half of them. So, our question, my question, and I think I speak for the larger group here, is have you considered those things? And it's a great answer, but I don't get a yes or no. I'm not hearing a yes or no there. Have you considered these things? And answer me this, when was the last time you actually counted the number of people that are getting on the Erie bus and getting off, and actually where they're getting on and off, and how do you do that? And that's my last question. I won't bother you anymore.
So the second question is a lot easier, so I'll start with that one.
Which one?
The
yes/no question is more difficult?
There's a lot that you live into that yes/no question. But your second question, I will answer both of them.
I think this is a great opportunity to tell people that yes, we've considered Uber and Lyft, we've considered these buses that are moving folks to their, out-of-town businesses, we've considered all this, or tell them that you haven't. But to say it's a tough question won't fly in this group out here. When you're talking about tying up and digging a hole on Geary Boulevard from Standing Street to 27th Avenue, I think it's a fair question. Yes or no?
Okay, so I would start with your first question then, because I think that's what you'd like. We definitely have considered all of the modes as we plan the bus rapid transit system. Your prior question seemed to be focused on the way that it was studied in this traffic study. And the traffic study was done several years ago. Things like Bird that you mentioned were not around then. And so I don't want to get into a lot of details about what all went into.
Lyft and Uber, did you consider those?
I don't want to talk about that in great detail because it's the subject of the lawsuit and you can read our brief as well.
Excuse me, but you speak very eloquently about all this planning and studying. You offered that up, and I'm hearing all this planning and studying, and I've been to a lot of meetings where planning and studying has been going on for 20 years before new technologies came along, before the world started operating a little differently. And it really begs the question about what sort of technology should we have in our transportation, and is public transportation able to get in that game?
Well, I'll tell you what I think is that the city is very busy and it's getting busier, and we need a way to move a lot of people in a little space. And there is not any other option besides public transportation that really can move that many people in that amount of space. And we definitely have seen a lot of new mobility offer new choices, but things like Lyft and Uber are not moving the sheer number of people in a limited amount of space that we need to in order to make the city work. And to answer your second question.
Good, because you can tell me then what number are they moving, and have your numbers declined since they're moving somewhat?
So I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but there are some studies available that quantify the number of people traveling by TNCs. There's a report called TNCs Today that has that information available.
Thank you for indulging me. I appreciate it.
We're all online.
Yeah,
sfcta.org. If you type in TNC, you can see a lot of that data. The challenge with TNCs is they won't share their data with the city. Even though the city, they refuse to share their data with the city, despite the attorney urging them to do so. So that has been a challenge. But just to clarify, the model's validated by current traffic patterns, and bottom line is there's no way that any of those new services are going to be able to move the volume of people that 38 Erie moves. And we do measure how many people get on and off 38 Erie every day. We have passenger counts on the buses. Answer the other question.
spent on outside PR for the Gary BRT since 2009. They bring a Barbara Coast in this question, so I'll let you answer the rest.
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't have that number off the top of my head.
All right, I think we went over this, but BRT is an old idea and an old technology. Don't we deserve a more 21st century solution?
Flying bridge Korea.
Is public transportation sustainable?
I believe it's sustainable. I believe that, as Liz said, it's the only way that we can move the volume of people in the small amount of space we have in San Francisco. There may well be technologies that will better connect people to the core transit service we provide. It's possible that some of our very lightly used transit lines, maybe there's a better way to move those people to the core transit lines like 38 and 5. But there's no way that I see, whether people are driving the cars or they're driving themselves, that we can move as many people in the amount of space we can move them as we can with transit. And ultimately, if that transit were a subway underground and had no impact to surface traffic, that would be the best. We were talking to someone earlier, if BART had done that from the start, if the other counties hadn't backed out of BART, we could have been having a whole different conversation. But if we didn't build subways in the city, like other older eastern cities and European and Asian cities have done, so we're playing catch up.
All right. Letters and emails have been sent to the MTA board regarding the proposed RTOL in front of the Shell Gas and Car Wash Gary Cook, and the unsafe conditions this will create to access the businesses. No response has been received regarding only a 40-foot space for vehicles to legally enter the right side lane to access the business. They don't like a response on this.
I'm pretty sure there's been extensive response and conversation on this issue. And if there's any, we're designing the entire corridor to be safe and allow for safe operation.
I have a question, and it's not I don't have a particular position here on this, but why isn't that you would make lanes like commute hour lanes, like I first recall transit-only lanes were like diamond lanes from 4 to 6 or 4 to 7. Because when you go down Geary, as I have for my family for 4 generations, most of the day, Geary is fine. There's not a lot of traffic. So I'm just curious, is there a reason why you don't do transit, commute time lanes versus full-time?
Yeah, really 2 reasons. One is that they're not effective in terms of compliance. When people sometimes can be in the lane, sometimes can't. We have those. I think Mission Street downtown is or was a part-time. The compliance is close to zero. The other reason is in terms of the traffic patterns. Geary bus, if you ride in the middle of the day, is still very crowded. So it's not as peaky a service as some others. So there's a lot of ridership throughout the day. And if we project forward, as Liz said, even if there's not a lot of traffic now, at some point there will be. We're trying to plan for the future.
All right, we got another question coming. The Geary BRT EIR did not address the shuttle for private for-profit buses using the public transit lane. How did the MTA make what appears to be a last-minute decision for private for-profit buses to use the public transit-only lanes instead of running lanes without an environmental evaluation?
So I believe that it was studied as part of the EIR. What the project contemplates is UV-only lanes for the center running lanes.
Might be the reason the portion in the
Well, we don't need to debate this. Our board, and I believe the Board of Supervisors, has asked that we reevaluate the use of our transit-only lanes. We have traditionally allowed general transit vehicles, which is really any vehicle with 10 or more passengers in our lanes. That's the way they are the city today, with a few exceptions. But the Board of Supervisors, as well as our board, has asked us to reevaluate.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. And I passed around, and some people have, I don't have enough, but I did pass around things that have the law, the state law, the local law, that explains the legality of this. And I also included the one paragraph in the EIR that addresses, it's just like real recognition of taxis and commercials. So I don't really have enough of these paragraphs, but I'm glad to really hear.
Yeah, I hear you. I thank you for raising the issue, because we've been pretty much always doing transit lanes this way. There are a few exceptions where we have a non-fulfillment or we make it community only, but generally we can make them transit only or bus only, which means that many other types of vehicles can use them. So I appreciate you raising this. It's a big policy call. We want to make sure that all of the high volume vehicles can access these lanes so we can use the lanes most effectively, or do we want to make sure that the publicly funded, the public transit, that's the absolute priority. That's a fair.
State law, local law seem to say that it's just public transportation, and always isn't exactly true, because if you go back and you look at the code, and you look at the legislation that's been passed at the SFPAR, it seems like on March 28, 2014 is the first time that these lanes, these red lanes have been beginning to be legislated to include buses. And buses is defined differently from public buses. So I've got it listed here, but I don't have enough to test for it.
Fair point. It's a fair question. I think the supervisor.
I just wanted to say that I'm hearing on this, the use of red, our transit lanes, and so we'll have a deeper discussion about it.
It's a good topic for discussion. Thank you for that.
All right. Now, I think you went over this as well.
Just a short one. Why can't you have this stroller going in the middle of aisle, not the front, entrance?
Yeah, I think that was a suggestion that we had, so that's something we'll look
It's
at.
an easy solution. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep somebody one of these days, I tell you.
All right, we kind of answered this already when you gave the speech earlier, but I want to go over it again. What are the timelines, and how often that break down to the BRT? How's the construction, how long will construction take for both phase 1 and phase 2?
So for phase 1, early construction started later this year. October, that's utility work. That's water and sewer work. So it's not really project work, but it's work, utility work that the city wants to get done before we come and make the street work better for transit, make it safer. So then that construction will continue in different phases and different parts until I think in 2021. So it's about, what's that, 2.5 years. The phase 2, the design under the current schedule would be completed in the summer of 2020. And once we have this preliminary engineering phase done, which is currently projected to be this coming March, then we'll have a much better handle on what the construction schedule may be. I don't think we have, I'm sure we have some estimate from way back, but I think we'll have a much better handle on it once we have the next phase of the design done.
Can I just add, I want to make this right from my conference, from my father, blah, 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 transplant. So I heard you say at the beginning a while back that, okay, phase 1, sewer stuff downtown, right?
Between Stanion and Market,
Okay,
is the overall
And
project.
then the second phase, will that also be the underground or, the sewer stuff too, or is?
So part of what we're determining in the preliminary engineering is what extent of utility work needs to be done, needs to be incorporated. So that's in part why we'll have a better sense of budget and schedule after that work is done.
Thank you so much.
All right. Now, what is the actual impact on parking in commercial areas will BRT have, especially in the Richmond from well into 27?
So I believe there's very little net change in parking, and again, as I said, the main reason that we went, or a reason we went to the center running design was because it was the design that had the least adverse parking impact. Is that more or less correct? Well, most people who ride Muni would say that we do. So, policy is that if you have a service animal, it is allowed to ride Muni free. If you have a dog that is not a service animal, it is allowed on Muni, but technically it's supposed to have a muzzle, and you're supposed to pay for it. Obviously, that's not something that we enforce, in part because in addition to being a family-friendly city, we're a very dog-friendly city. And it's also difficult for our operators to make a determination of whether an animal is a service animal or not. So I think we're generally pretty easy in terms of the dogs. Generally, it's not a problem, but we do sometimes get complaints from people about the dogs on the vehicles. So it's just like everything, there's kind of trade-offs. But it's something that de facto, I'd say we're very dog-friendly.
Alrighty, last question actually. Why should seniors and disabled have to walk a quarter of a mile to get to the bus?
So we have developed stop spacing guidelines based on different levels of service that we provide, whether it's a local service or a rapid service. We take into account as a part of those guidelines things like neighborhood facilities, like senior centers, or schools, or libraries. We take into account the length of blocks and particularly the level of incline. And from a lot of study we did, and people referenced Europe and Asia, looking at systems around the world, we identified what we think are good guidelines for how far park stops would be. If we have the stops too close, particularly on the rapid service that carries a lot of people, it makes the service so slow and unreliable that people are less likely to use it. So again, there's a trade-off. We try to keep the stop spacing reasonable for the rapid service, so that folks who are willing to make the walk have a more rapid ride, and we keep our local stop spacing closer for folks who aren't willing to make the walk.
All right, well, thank you, Ed, for all the answering all the questions tonight. And, thank you. Everybody. Now, I'll call Bob Starzel. Give a little.
So prayer remarks and so on. I'm Bob Starzel with Sensible Transit. We formed a group because in November 5, 2015, the San Francisco County Transportation Authority wouldn't let us talk and ask questions or make comments when they presented the draft EIR. Now, as a result of that, we brought a lawsuit. As a result of that lawsuit, we are given an administrative record by the city of some 300,000 pages. The one thing I would wish would be that Ed Reiskin, who I know to be an honest and capable man, I wish he had come along with 7 volunteers who went through those 300,000 pages to see what actually went on in the development and the selling of this project, the VRT, because it was actually shocking to us. What happened is that the authority itself dictated that there should be VRT systems on Van Ness and on Gary. Dictated. And therefore it went along. And then they were going to hand it on to Muni, so they made Muni a partner in 2009. At that point, PAR said, wait a second, we don't need a VRT. What we need for you to do is incrementally improve the service out here on Gary. And in fact, that went on. But as of 2012, when they started using various kinds of
studies to set up what they were going to do with the BRT. The results were still very poor on Gary. Now, hats off to Mr. Reiskin, because by the time they finished with the environmental impact report in 2015, the service had gotten quite good. And for anybody who rides the Gary Rapid, you know you can get downtown faster, yes, faster than you can drive your car and park. So it makes sense to ride. We had this group that became Sensible Transit sit down for more than 20 hours with planners to discuss why not do this. And you know what we discovered was? We discovered that when the county authority said, do it, it became the religion. And once it became the religion, there was dogma. And then finally, we had acolytes all over the place. And the PR system was so strong that nobody could say anything but BRT, BRT, BRT. Now, it's very interesting that the staff, mostly of the authority, although they didn't know what they were doing, and so they did have to go to meeting. But the staff set up 5 supposed alternatives so that they could compare them the way SFPAR required, the California Environmental Quality Act. In fact, and I have to tell you that what you've heard before is not right. In fact, there was only one way to do this, and that was a hybrid. And the reason for that is not partial. The reason for that, and it's quite clear from the documents that we reviewed, the reason is that they eventually admitted it in those documents, that it was too costly and too disturbing to break up, destroy, modify, whatever they could do, the bridges at Fillmore and the Summit. It was quite clear that that's what drove this. So the record that we saw was not the record that you know about. There were, and now I'm glad that Supervisor Fewer is here. She's had closer ears to this. But what happened in November 2016 is that the staff of the County Transportation Authority saw that she was coming on board, and she had said that she had some questions to ask. They didn't like that. They didn't like that because the board had been quite pliable before that. The board of supervisors knew what they were supposed to do, and they were going to do it. So they arranged to rush the hearing to January 5, 2017, so they wouldn't have to put up with Supervisor Fewer. And so what did that mean? That meant that they had only a few days to study the completed final EIR. And they couldn't read it all because there were more than 1,000 pages, and they couldn't read it all. Now, when we challenged them at the hearing about whether they read it, only Supervisor Reiskin said, oh no, I was here and I read it all. Nobody understood, they were all silent. So why? Well, you know, the interesting thing was, they knew that to show that they had exercised their independent judgment, which was a secret requirement, they knew that they should have read it, but they didn't need to. Well, why didn't they need to? It's because they got together before the hearing and they agreed that they would vote unanimously in favor of the project, the BRT project. Well, now, for those of you who are lawyers, you know that that's a violation of the Brown Act. The Brown Act, right? The California Brown Act says, no, you cannot do that. So that was the second major problem. The first, when they refused to have Supervisor Fewer there, that was a slap in the face of the voters, because she had made her questions known. And it was a degradation of the democratic process. And that is something that we should all be concerned about. We should be very concerned that that's the case. There are substantive issues that were a problem. Let me get through this because I can move faster if I may.
Who are you again?
What?
I just don't know who you are. Sorry, this week, you know, have some context.
Sorry, I thought everybody had a playbook. Bob Starzel, I'm the director, one of the 3 directors of San Francisco's for Sensible Transit.
And
We brought the lawsuit. It's an advocacy group made up of individuals who the impacts that were not described in the EIR are mammoth, but there are two that I point out. One is the diversion onto the side streets during the construction and afterwards. Now let's assume you take 1/3 of the real estate away from the drivers on Gary. Where are they going to go? Well, they're going to go into parallel streets, and mostly those will be on the south. They'll be driving there in residential areas. That was in the EIR only in this manner. The planner said it's not significant. Well, unfortunately for them, the secret requirement is tell us what is the yardstick you use if something is significant or not. And they never did that. They just passed it by. The second problem is the problem that we brought up here that is a current problem, and that is the TMC, the Uber Lyft problem. At the time that this was being finalized, they all knew that there were 45,000 Uber and Lyft cars on the road. We discussed it, it's in the record. So why didn't they bring that up? Well, I don't know, frankly, because when you think about what's going to happen, what the trend is towards electric driverless cars, what the cost function there is fantastic. There's no way that a big bus, and with all the service and employees required, can begin to catch up with all of that. So that's the trend, and that's the concern, and the reason it should be a concern is that the PR push on this said that we need more riders, we'll need better service for better more riders. So let's do that. Let's spend $315 million on this project, and then we'll get more riders. Well, you may not get more riders because you may, in fact, lose riders to the TNCs. We don't know that, but it should have been discussed, and it wasn't discussed at all. And it is for that reason that when we look at this project, we say, we hope that the judge on October 5th tells us that she agrees. This just was a big, bad mistake. The last point of this is the process that was used to come up with time savings. There's fraud there, because if you read the documents that we read, you see that the planners modified, changed dramatically at times. Yes, it is right. It is, and I'll show you the documents if you want to see them. You're on something. So, in fact, they changed it so that it would fit the project, and that means that nobody really understood how these models really affected the outcome. Now, 3 of us spent 3 hours trying to understand the models, led through this by one of the people at the authority who prepared this. And frankly, you'd have to be a damn genius to understand how these work. Yet everybody was going to accept it because it was part of the PR dogma about we need the art. So, in the end, let me just say this. I think that Ed Reiskin is a fine guy. He's got a tough job. And my point here tonight is not to complain about him. I want to complain about the authority, because the authority is just a bank. It provides money. It shouldn't be thinking it's a planner, because it doesn't have that authority, although it's trying to usurp it. I also think that what it's supposed to do, it should do, and that is allocate properly, and it doesn't always do that. So let's have a hard look at the authority. It already says it's not part of the city and county of San Francisco. Well, if that's fine, let's make it that. Let's do something to make them responsive. Let's not trust the planners anymore. I'm sorry?
The authority.
The County Transportation Authority. All they do is allocate tax money into various projects and get other money, but they also use their planning function. If anybody's going to do the planning function, it's this guy over here. They are the ones who have to build it and run it, and it should be there. So, if Mayor Breed asked us for Sensible Transit to explain what we think about things, that's what's going on. Thank you.
Bob Feinbaum, I'm chair of Safe Community, and we're an organization that advocates for more people using transit. We fully agree with what Ed Reiskin said. Public transit is the way most people are going to move around San Francisco and other cities for the foreseeable future. So, with that in mind, we also believe that public transit is a way to reduce traffic congestion. And we think the two are intimately interlinked. You get more people on public transit, you reduce traffic congestion. Unfortunately, that isn't, and Bob Starzel alluded to this, that is not the way the funding system for capital projects seems to work. It doesn't really look at how much traffic congestion is going to be reduced and how many community riders are going to be put on the system. It seems to work on other more political grounds. I want to, before I forget, I want to address Rich's comment, because it was a good comment about the red lanes. And I have to disagree with Ed on that, because it is rather common in Switzerland and in other European countries to have lights, signal lights, strung across the roadway, and the signal lights will be on or off and will be able to direct traffic. Well, Switzerland is Switzerland, it's not anything, but still, it works very well. And a friend of mine just mentioned to me that, of all places, Louisville, Kentucky has the same system, and it works perfectly. So I think maybe you can look at the red lanes and look at it in a little bit wider context. Now, we're getting late, it's 9 o'clock, people are getting antsy, so I'll just make 2 further comments. Number one, Safe Community, together with the Coalition for San Francisco Neighborhoods, is sponsoring a forum on the future of transportation in San Francisco. It's going to be on September 29th, Saturday morning, from 10 to 12. We'd like to invite all of you to come. One of the presenters at that forum will be Jonathan Hopkins, who's the Executive Director of Commute Seattle. Seattle is the only city in the nation that has increased its public transportation, public transit ridership over the past decade. He's got some insights about how they did it. Some of it's interesting, some of it is legislation, but some of it is also just good operations and better transit funding. So I invite you all to come and listen to that. This is the Toronto Auditorium. I have some flyers I can pass it out. Second thing I want to say is, if you look at the conjunction that I was talking about of reducing congestion and increasing public transit ridership, one of the most effective projects for the city of San Francisco is the downtown extension of Caltrain. The reason I'm saying that is because currently 280,000 cars a day are coming into San Francisco from the south, San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. Now, obviously, some of them are coming into Richmond, so it affects you. The second reason that this is an important project is that it projected to reduce the number of cars by about 10%. So we're talking about 30,000 cars a day. There is no project being considered by the CTA or the MTA that comes anywhere close to doing that. The second thing is, it will increase what SFPAR has rightly called seamless transportation. It'll bring all the transit together into one focus, the Transmain Transit Center. And that will mean something to people in Richmond as well. Because imagine taking the 38 bus down to the transit center and making a seamless connection with Caltrain. That would be nice for you because sometimes it's not great to drive down to the peninsula. For all those reasons, we're very much in favor of that project. Unfortunately, it's gotten muddied through a report called the RAV report, which is insisting on an expensive alignment that may not be practical. So we're at the County Transportation Authority next Tuesday. Invite you all to come down and help us out to get this downtown extension, Caltrain. So I could talk forever, but I won't. I want to thank you very much, and if there are any questions, may I have your answers?